Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on human capital. Today, we are discussing managing perspectives, the strategic role of the hiring manager. So, the hiring manager, what we know is a very powerful role in the organization, deciding on the quality of the talent for their respective department. I have today a longtime friend, Reema Akhtar, the director of People and Program for Sears Solutions in the United Arab Emirates. Reema, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, Rifki, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here and allowing me to share my experience. A little bit about me. I am working as an HR from last almost close to 2 decades now, and from last 2 3 years, I've also transitioned into hardcore business departments like project and programs. So, which is in SEER UA, SEER Solutions. I have multiple years of experience in HR industry across different industries where I help business take informed decision with people, enabling people. So that's what my forte is, and also help understand people, organization, what they should look for to have their future talent development. That's what my passion is all about, and by doing so, also empowering people who are working in an organization. So, all put together, this is what my role is currently in the organization and across the years.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. It's important to note that my viewers will be given your YouTube link so they can appreciate your background. I mean, I know your qualifications, I know your assessment and your hiring capabilities. I want our audience, people from HR, people from the C-suite, to understand the role of the hiring manager, because in many organizations, we create a job spec, we create the job description, we have the list of questions based on competencies, and yet we have to recognize that sometimes hiring managers have the difficult decision of hiring someone of political preference or hiring someone of capability. So they manage risk, they manage making that call of hiring the right person, what percentage they look at. So in this podcast, we'll talk about our segments, starting with segment one. Let's talk about the hiring manager's job. What is it exactly? Is it to reduce the risk or hire the right talent?
Very appropriate question to start this podcast. I think it will set the context about the real role of hiring manager. I would slightly push it back
Hmm.
in terms of the framing because, in practice, the tension between these two things, as you mentioned, to reduce the risk or to hire the right talent, is where there is a scope of having most hiring mistakes. When the organizations are primarily looking for reducing the risk, or when hiring managers are trying to reduce the risk while hiring a candidate, they tend to go to their default setting of familiarity, like similar pedigree, similar nature, personality, so they don't end up having any surprises after the candidate is onboarded. On the other hand, when the hiring manager is trying to balance it with choosing the right talent, they do enough rigorous evaluation. They mostly hire on charisma, credentials. You may also see or hear them talking that there's no fire or there's fire in this candidate I want to hire. So when they do all these balancing or trade-off between right fit and reduce the risk, they also tend to get some surprises along the way that this is what the candidate is not capable of doing after joining. He or she was so good during the interview. Because for me, talent is not universal, it's contextual. So the real hiring actually goes when they bring a third angle in terms of making a structured process of hiring, structured process which is based on the competency, the first and foremost thing. Because if you don't have your competency framework in place, somewhere you don't know what you're looking for, what the candidate is supposed to do when the person will join. Another one is, do they have a very clear, structured process of interviewing questions and answers as well or not, a consistent one which will remove any bias. And third one, how diverse is their interviewing panel? Because what happens sometimes hiring manager alone is present along with HR. But what I have particularly learned in my career so far, and also I have enabled it in my current organization also, that hiring will be an organizational responsibility, not only hiring managers' responsibility. So there's always a diverse team present and an objective person present in the process, which will reduce the risk of desperation.
Thank you. With my experience in working with hiring manager and being the hiring manager in multiple occasions, it's not a easy thing. It's not easily said than done. Yes, the process is very effective. Having a panel is important, and also having the right set of questions is important as well. Number one is to see how good a candidate is, whether the candidate is a cultural fit for the organization. We all know that sometimes people who look fantastic on their CVs, on their experience, are a nightmare to work with. So, do we
Very
hire the right person? Yeah, you're right. Do we hire the amazing fit person but with the wrong attitude and let them rock the apple cart, or do we hire someone whom we can develop later on? Now, for me, hire for attitude and develop the talent. That's the way I would like to go forward. And that also takes me to our second segment. What does a hiring manager actually evaluate in a candidate? What are the signals or what are the evidences that a hiring manager should look for?
I want to be honest about something that doesn't get said enough. Most interviewers or hiring managers, including many experienced ones, they are not as objective as they believe that they are. And also, the research consistently shows that most of the hiring decisions are made within the first few minutes of the interview. And the rest of the interview is spent confirming that initial impression. Uh, as an HR manager or any HR leader who's present in that interview, their purpose is to, again, use the thread which has started in this hiring process, that the questions should always be consistent. If you're meeting several candidates for same role, consistency is the key here. If you're not asking the same questions to all the candidates, you have already a bias involved in that. So you may be mostly looking forward the primacy or recency bias. Like this person is very good because he or she has come from this certain company or education background. So they tend to pick up those signals and develop on that. Whereas in that hiring manager's role during that interview process is all about assessment, breaking their own biases, breaking the myths, and having a very structured process, not innovating anything during the interview process. Because when you tend to innovate during that interview process, you tend to justify your own made impressions, which is not correct. Another important one is to have evidences because in today's time, many candidates they will always be prepared with their interview answers, so they will have a very polished answers. Try to go beyond their mask, look beyond their stories. Are they actually meaning it? Have they lived those stories? To try to pick up those evidences. What have they done in such situation? Who all were impacted in that situation? Are they owning that situation, what has happened, or are they making a judgment that everybody else was at fault except this? So pick up those signals and evidences, how self-aware the candidate is, because the more self-awareness is there in the candidate, the better it will be for you to take that person in your team, because that's what will take your team to the next level.
Thank you very much. I think that's a fantastic answer. One of the things I realized is that, as HR folks, we know the STAR method. In my past experience, We try to make the hiring manager aware of the STAR method, why you have to go through this process, which is one fantastic example you explained. I want to share an experience I had with an interview many years ago with a North American company. They sent me the set of questions that they're going to ask, around 26 questions. They said they will ask maximum 10. And I was like, okay, this is very easy because we don't do this in the Middle East and we don't definitely do this in any of the South Asian or Far East Asian countries. And so during the interview, my curiosity got the best of me and I asked, this is my first experience where somebody sends me the list of questions that you're going to ask. And they gave a fantastic answer. They said, well, for us, we want people with potential. We want to see the right answers and we want to assess honesty. We want to assess the person with the right attitude for us. That negates nervousness, that negates fake answers, that negates knee-jerk reactions, all of that. I said, that's a very nice approach. And, that started opening up eyes. And it was very difficult to convince every other management that we should share a set of 20 questions that we're going to ask each of the candidates. Because during one of the consultancy project, I actually got someone to walk up, during mass recruitment to talk to the people, make them feel comfortable, ask them where they're from, relate stories. So that makes them happy. That takes out the nervousness and all that. That makes it easy for the hiring manager from one angle. That's the beauty of it, right? It's never
Yes.
easy, but then hiring the right person is of huge importance. That also opens up, what do hiring managers hope to obtain by asking these common questions? Should there be a hidden intent? Like what you said, we need to see what the truth is behind a fantastic story. And if the story doesn't come out, we need to find out whether this person actually has that.
There's no hidden intent, or I would rather again reframe this hidden intent as a diagnostic purpose, because that's what is going on in that interview process. We're assessing. So each and every question which is there for a reason, which will surface up something very specific, because we don't have infinite time to have a chit chat with that candidate. We have purpose to find our best fit or right fit for the organization, and each and every question is for me act as a diagnostic purpose. I think across the globe, the first question, tell me something about yourself, very common opener or an icebreaker in the interview process. And till date, with my experience so far, having interviewed, I've lost the count, having interviewed a number of candidates, mostly what they do, they immediately, the moment this question is posed, they start the answer of giving a narration of a chronological summary of what they have done. This is what the hiring manager or the people sitting across the table, they are not looking for your memory test or your performance, that how well do you remember where all you have worked, are the gaps. No, this question might have been there for ages, but it always keeps on developing its context. So, in my organization, particularly, what I do, we generally ask that filter out your CV and then tell us about yourself. So, this itself is a very big surprise for them. They are not prepared. They will still go back and tend to tell where they graduated from, what have they worked, but we again give a very clear narrative. Tell us something about yourself which you cannot mention on the CV, but it's not more about you as a person. Because today we are having a conversation to understand you. Until previous rounds, we were evaluating you and your technical knowledge. In this question, there is no right or wrong answer. So, what we look for, particularly by asking this question, is how self aware is this candidate to connect his present, past, and also the relevance, how that information will be utilized by the hiring manager to take a decision. And that's where mostly the ground context is set. The next, another important question, which again one of my favorites one, is asking about the weakness. And I'm sure we all tend to tell that we don't have weakness, or whatever weakness was there, we have overcome it, or we have always heard those answers, cliche answers. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I work too hard. Sometimes I lost track of time. I cannot say no. By now, I think I've heard every version of these answers. But frankly, those answers just signal the opposite of self awareness. Because what the hiring manager is trying to understand with through this question is like whether is it somebody who knows what has costed them something in their life when they were dealing with this shortcoming or weakness, and did they grudge about it, or did they have a clear structured path to overcome that weakness about themselves. So this is what I think most hiring managers they are looking for as an answer from this question. The last next one, again very important one, which sometimes candidates try to avoid, is when we ask them to share any team conflict, recent or like previous one, which they can remember and share. Most of the candidates they try to resist answer and they say, no, we are very happy-go-lucky friends. But again, from this question, what we are trying to understand, is it something that how important is conflict for this person? Is it an avoider? Is it that this person is dealing with it, getting the team productive and also moving along? Whether the person holds his or her point of view and is able to share that point of view or not. So these are those, I think, few cliched questions or common questions. So no hidden intent, but very purposefully designed diagnostic questions where we understand that which candidate is showing up differently.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you very much for answering that. And I know this podcast is intended to all the hiring managers, the senior staff, and all that. And I also know that a lot of youngsters, people who are looking for jobs, college graduates, also look at this. And you would have realized that the way I worded this hidden intent is because some people think, what were they trying to find out? What did they hear? That phobia that sticks in their head. I want the job seekers to understand that as hiring managers, as HR, our primary responsibility is to make sure we hire the best fit for the organization. Potential, capability, attitude, cultural fit, ability to work with. That's the whole point of all these questions, investigating deep at the candidate's role. Sometimes we have 2 to 3 interviews, sometimes we have panel interviews, sometimes we have a presentation. All this is to find out how much it is, how much of a fit they can be for us. So thank you very much for answering that. And I do hope that our audience pauses segment by segment and take notes, because this is a very valuable lesson that you're sharing, Reema, and thank you so much for that. So we come to segment number 4. So what are the red flags, green flags, and white flags of a hiring manager should look out from an organizational perspective?
These red flags, green flags, and also white flags can be from both the contexts. But if I understand, you're trying to help us highlight the red flags from hiring managers' context. That where do they tend to fall into trap or pitfalls when they are evaluating or assessing the candidates? When the candidate is too good to be perfect on CV, and also their interview technical assessment, because that's what they were doing, and super polished answers, always trying to give those answers which they feel that hiring manager would like to hear. And few hiring managers fall trap to that, like, yeah, he was giving all the right answers what I wanted to hear. That's one of the biggest red flag, because you have not understood the real personality of the candidate. You tend to go deep, ask few questions, maybe put that candidate into pressure, or suddenly ask that person to stop. How that candidate is behaving in that interview when that person is getting frequent interruptions when he's answering. That's what I think will help us overcome this red flag, that the candidate is not always about very perfect in that 1 hour. How this candidate will deal in our dynamic environment, because you know your team already. The only person you're trying to understand through this interview is this candidate. So have your enough assessment, not judgment, but very objective one, and do not see yourself into his role, because you and that person are two different. Which again, another red flag which hiring manager sometimes tend to hire like them. Do not hire like me. Stay out of this. For me, this is these two examples would be for red flags. Green flags would be the candidate who was nervous and was taking some time to pause and frame answers. Do not have ready answers for all your questions, whatever you have thrown in front of him or her. So those are the green flags, because candidate is trying to relive those examples in his or her head. Give that person some time and let those fragmented answers come out of him, so that you know this person is genuine and trying to give you what you are actually looking for, not what you want. The next one, white flag, and I'm sure this could be one of the newest terminology in hiring process. Not many would be familiar, which I definitely use in my organization. When a hiring manager starts with his or her request that what type of candidate we are looking for, so the hiring manager always looks for the perfect candidate who never exists on earth. So this is where that white flag comes in. White flag means having a peace between what you are expecting and what is reality. So a trade-off between these two is what mostly white flag is, and also not waiting for the best candidate because you may be losing out time and your business objective. Because if you're hiring the best person in 12 months or 18 months, you have already lost time. Versus if you have found a potential one in 2 to 3 months, this is the white flag, that example that you can think of from hiring manager's perspective.
Thank you very much. That also brings me to candidate engagement. It's very important to engage the candidate. One of the interviews I attended last year, it was for, I mean, obviously for a very senior role. When I walked into the reception, they recognized who I was. I just walked in, the security recognized who I was. And I'm quite admire. I was like thinking, wait a minute, I've never been here before. And how come they just go up and say, "Oh, is that you, Rifki?" I say, "Yes, it is." The reception was very friendly. "Can I get you some water? Can I get you some coffee?" I mean, it's normal in large, well matured organizations, but still that matters. That experience matters. The hiring manager was on a sofa. He was a CHRO or something, and he sat. He didn't bring me to his table. He said, "Yeah, have a seat in the sofa. Make yourself comfortable." And it was a normal conversation. He never said, "Oh, this is this company. This is what we're looking for." No.
Set up like having an interview on a sofa. That's what you've
Yeah,
already removed that tension which is
exactly.
by default present in the room.
Yeah, exactly. And a discussion about family, about this. And in the back of my mind, my red flags, green flags, white flags was all lighting up. Where is he going? Where is he going? But then I figured out this is a very genuine method, a genuine intention that he has to identify who I am, to see if I fit that organization. That's a fantastic discussion that we had about the whole red flag, white flag, green flag. That's very important for hiring managers to note, and that's also very important for the talent acquisition to be aware of and also to note that. So it also paves the way into a current situation that we are all dealing with right now. So that comes into segment number 5. How should HR manage candidate shortage in a high risk region?
Oh, this question sits very close to my day-to-day reality. So I'll speak from that directly. In a market like UAE, which I'm working for last several years, candidate shortage here is not just about volume, mass number of applications. It's all about the right combination of skills, cultural adaptability, the regularity fit, retention likelihood. We are operating in a very high mobility environment. Everybody, almost 90% are expats in this region, in GCC region, if I have to widen this up. Professionals here, they have options. Many expats are operating from their home country and also from GCC, and also maintaining their lifestyle and that long-term career trajectory. So the shortage is layered, and the solution also needs to be layered by HR. What I have generally observed, when HR managers or HR leaders, industry leaders, they try to design their talent strategy, they always design from a single point of time. What they lack is having a multi-dimensional approach towards it. The organization, I can give examples about those organizations who are successful in doing this, are very simple, straightforward human elements that they bring into this talent strategy. For example, HR folks, they are always connected with silver medal candidates, not always on the cream layer, because they are there, but the middle layer who are there in lesser volume, but the class is there in them. They always build alumni network. That's what HRs are expected to do, and that's what their job is to. They also rely on referral culture, because good employees will always genuinely refer their network people peers and advocate for this organization. The second thing, this is all about going out in market and how to bring. Another thing which sometimes we miss out on building is the live upstream. We all, when we are working in an organization as an HR, we must have a long-term understanding where the organization is going to achieve in next 2 to 3 years. So have a talent mapped there that if the organization wants to achieve such and such thing in next 2 to 3 years, do you have your talent pipeline developed in the organization? Because you cannot always buy from outside. Are you building that from the organization? Because that's where your most loyal people will be there to hold on this organization's weight. Do you have proper strategies to see the potential from your existing team who can take up those challenging roles? And the next one, which is a very understated one, but an honest internal audit. How many cases of perceived candidate shortage? Is it a real issue? Or is it the candidate shortage is not there? Is the employment or employers' shortcomings? Is that opportunity attractive enough? Why should any candidate put their trust in your organization when your advertisements lack that fire, that magnetism? Why should I even spend my time to apply, even if it's just a click of a button? I don't see myself connected to these different touch points which candidate has with the organization, be it their delay when they have applied, the delay between the response time the candidate is getting within a week or a month or 6 months. That shows how the organizations work internally also. The career path or the employer branding, these are those smaller nuances which sometimes we tend to overlook, but HRs are responsible to overcome this candidate shortage myth.
Absolutely right. You brought in a few memories for all these WhatsApp groups that advertise. I think you and I are in the same GCC level WhatsApp groups, and some of the advertisements are quite shocking.
Yeah.
The way they word them, forget employer branding. This is like, scare them away. Do not join us. That's the message that it gives me. Some of the organizations, they have brilliant employer branding, the colors, the wording, how they want the person to join, and the effort they put in, that goes all the way to developing talent at a university level, the way they engage. I mean, we all know that the big four does this, the oil and gas, the larger banks do this. They get involved with the universities to hire the creme de la creme of the graduates, bring them in over here. So all this is very, very important, how employees behave.
True.
You don't want somebody who's desperate for a job to join your organization. You want
Yes.
someone who wants to join your organization.
Yes.
It's two separate strategic areas that we were talking about. Right from the beginning, we were talking about, what do we look for in a candidate? What should hiring managers do? And we came to the problem at hand with the situation. And I think whatever employer branding, candidate experience, it has to continue, not just because we have a tough time right now. It has to be
Yes.
done globally because, right, you said GCC is very expat heavy, and we have to balance the percentage of nationals. I think it's 25% for UAE, and I think for Qatar is around the same percentage, depending on the organization. That's very important. We need the best to come in. We need that
Yeah.
combination. We need that diversity to come in. And this also poses a little bit of a complexity because a lot of the organizations, they use ATS systems which got AI built into it. So how does AI based recruitment affect talent sourcing and candidate experience?
Again, a very appropriate point that you have raised, and I want to speak to about this with both enthusiasm and caution, because I think HR profession is generally an important inflection point here, because how we navigate with AI will define the function's credibility for the next decade. On the capability side, AI definitely has brought some results in recruitment in terms of scale and speed. The ability, the mere ability to have the resume parsing done for thousands of profiles is commendable. Like, that's what you prefer doing when you have thousands of CVs for any role received over a day's time. If you have only one or two recruiters, they might spend 10 days to go through all 1,000 CVs, or they might not be able to do all those 1,000 CVs because maybe half of those will not be relevant. So AI plays a very big role here in terms of CV parsing or screening, and identifying some patterns or reducing time to shortlist. These are few real operational gains. But with this, as I said, that enthusiasm and caution in the sense that the data that AI, you would have put your data, historical data to that AI feature in your recruitment process would have been as per your context of biases and your trends of not shortlisting certain CVs. Now you have put AI here. So what AI is doing, it's not doing anything different. It's amplifying that situation, further bringing that bias and not shortlisting those CVs. Suppose if you have always shortlisted Western CVs for certain role and that data you're feeding into AI will definitely not see those CVs who are from Far East. They also are equally talented. However, in your organization, you have, for certain reason, you have never screened those CVs. So your AI will never screen it. So that has to be a very cautious step. And this is where HRs or the leaders, they have to play very important responsibility to see where AI can support in the recruitment process. Another one, try to have your recruitment people working with AI, not completely bringing AI into the recruitment process, like these CV shortlisting, scheduling the interviews, giving the status update. I think just limit your AI initially to only these touch points. But the fact that the first conversation that you build up with the candidate has to be your human, your recruiter who establishes that connect. The final interview, the feedback after that has to be your human person there. The offer stage cannot have an AI. You need to have a human sitting across the table or over the telephone to offer that candidate, to give that trust that we believed in you. Now, this is what our best offer to you. AI will not do justice here. So, do not tend to remove AI or human in the entire process, but selectively built in to such processes where your employer branding will not be affected. Only the delay part, the automated task can be utilized in terms of AI. And here in GCC, I think every other topic is only how are you using AI. You have to be very cautious and build governance as well around AI.
Thank you. So we've moved from the responsibility of the hiring manager, what the hiring manager should look for, and also the analytics which you mentioned. Do we have a skills shortage, or is the hiring manager the one who requires the skill to identify the talent? Yeah.
Very true. Yes. Yeah.
That also means that the hiring manager also needs to be trained on how to interview candidates, what to look for, because interview is not a small skill, it has a huge implication. It's a quality role. This is what hiring managers across different levels of the organization, seniorities, really have to understand. It's an uphill climb in certain organizations. We've had training programs for hiring managers a long time ago. It was all, oh yeah, I know everything. And day two of the program, they were like, oh, we didn't know this. Do we have to do all of this? Yes, you have to. Because end of the day, you're hiring someone who wants to work for your department. And that also brings us to the closure of this podcast, where we want to take, we want to have a second take of this podcast to go on a much higher level, Reema, because there is a lot that you and I can guide the hiring managers on what to look for in people. Is it a shortage of quality people? Good question. Is it the inability of the hiring manager to see quality? Can they identify attitude? Can they develop the talent? What are they looking for? Are they looking for that, double MBA, PhD candidate where they can save on the training budget? Because end of the day, business heads always look at their P&L. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Reema, I would like to invite you to give a summary so that we can let our viewers know what's going to come up next.
Sure, Rifki. Thank you for this. And First of all, I really enjoyed this conversation which I had with you, and at the back of my mind, I was falling in love with this field all over again. That why I have chosen this field, because it's a very important contribution. At least I feel that I am making wherever I'm working for the organizations. I want to leave your listeners with something that I have come back to myself, or I come back to myself regularly. The first thing, the cliched thing, HR is often positioned as a support function, something that sits behind the business. But just picture this, behind every decision who you are, how you develop them, how you retain them, and how you let them go, those are the decisions of business. So HR is not a support function, it's an equivalent business function. It's an overarching department that's covering all the other departments as a governance. HR is something that shapes your culture, capability, reputation in market. It's not the marketing department who, with their flashy advertisement, they shape. No, we do far more when we meet candidates, because at that time we are the ambassadors of the organization. So we are responsible for those employer branding, and also the ultimate outcome for the business. The next one, my message will go out to the candidates who are listening to this important series. Just try to have the very fact interview is not a performance, it's a conversation about fitment. So try to have a two-way assessment. The way hiring managers are assessing you, candidates, I think you are also assessing us as an organization, whether do we fit into your next career move or not. So try to be as genuine, as open as possible. Look for the fitment for the role, fitment for the team, fitment for that moment in that organization's journey. Show up prepared, show up honest, show up your vulnerability. No hiring manager is looking for polished chat GPT answers, because we don't want perfectionists. Not in my company, not in any other company. Perfectionism never exists. That was about candidates, and for the HR professionals and business leaders, which I do every day in my organization. Hold your processes to a high standards. Your processes are there for a reason. Either hold on to that standard, or uplift, upskill those, make take it to the next level. Never consider your processes are there to delay the things, or to have any bureaucratic processes in the organization. If processes are not there, organizations will not survive. These are those internal stitching that you have in a fabric, which will never let your clothes rip apart. Those are the processes for me. The way you hire signal to the market about you as an organization, because for you it could be only an interview, but you have at least given your picture to 10 more people. This candidate always talk to some or the other person, they talk to some other person. You have, in with that one interview, you have touched base 10 people about how you are as a person. Make it rigorous, make it human, make it worthy of the trust that candidates are placing in you. Do not judge them in that moment. Of course, we are assessing, but your questions, your body language should not threaten candidates that why should I join this organization. So that was all about my message to everyone. Thank you for this platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to remind all our viewers that the podcast series on seeking employment and facing interviews, there are a few videos on that targeting job seekers and freshers. So I want our candidates to look into that. Let us know if there are any questions. Their comments will help us shape the second podcast with Reema. And also, I will drop in the LinkedIn link of Reema Akhtar. Feel free to reach us on our YouTube channel, on LinkedIn, so that we can guide you, we can let you know. And also remember to subscribe, like, share, click that bell button, and pause and rewind, because there is a lot of things that we can learn from this. I know I'm stressing this, but I don't want people to lose out on this immensely valuable information. Thank you very much. See you on the next podcast.
Thank you so much.